So one of the things we're going to do today while getting the car ready for the body shop is actually replace this driver's door. I think it's a bit past getting repaired. I certainly wouldn't be happy with the amount of filler that would be on this door. It's actually really badly creased here. So we're going to replace it. So I've actually got this one off eBay. It isn't perfect, it is the right colour. It does have a little scratch on it, but that should be easier for a body shop to fix. So let's get cracking. Changing out the door should be relatively easy. We should be bottom bolt here, top bolt here. We'll get the door stay, and then I think it's just the one wire. If we unclip all that, we should get the door off, we'll get the new door on, and then we'll start transferring everything across that's still attached to the door. It really is great having help from the boys again. At this point, Ryan starts removing the door stay. This allows me to take the weight of the door while Ryan removes the two bolts and the hinges. I didn't realise at this point that the hinges had tapers on them to hold the door in place so it wouldn't have fallen off anyway. The other option would have been removing the two E-Torx bolts on the door itself and taking the entire hinge assembly off, but since the new door has half the hinges still left, I thought I would try it this way first to help alignment when refitting the door. And now that the two bolts are removed, I can actually just lift the door away, and it is as simple as that. The new door then lifts right back into place and fits perfectly onto the tapers. I haven't had to make any adjustments so far, and I'm now keen to see how the overall door lines up with the rest of the car. Ryan is reconnecting the door electronics cable whilst the door stay is still disconnected and giving a little more room to finagle it into place. Then we start putting the hinge bolts back in place and tightening them up. I actually wish the door swap was all as easy as this, but I'm afraid this is just the start of it as there is a lot of components still to swap over and we've barely scratched the surface. Now if you're still watching this, or if you've just joined us, hopefully you're enjoying what you're watching and you're going to continue watching the videos as we move along with the build. If you have, please don't forget to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, that way it lets me know if I'm doing something right. Once the door was tightened, I had to shut it and see just how well it lined up. It actually doesn't line up too bad, maybe a little adjustment to get it to 100%, and I think the front wing needs to move in ever so slightly as I had originally lined it up with a flattened door and it sticks out the tiniest amount. I must say though, the colour match really isn't bad in person. It's a shame that the door has a big scratch in it, and I think with a good machine polish it might have been really close. However, as we want the car as close to perfect as possible, it's definitely going for paint and will be blended in properly. To access the door internals, first we need to remove the door card. This is done by removing a few small Torx screws and the use of a trim tool to remove the handle cover, revealing further Torx screws that are in behind the handle that provide the strength to the door card when pulling the door shut. We also remove the inner latch trim surrounded, revealing yet another screw. I then start to remove another piece of aftermarket LED lighting as I just don't like it, and I actually find that the wiring was questionable on this one, having just been shoved in the back of a connector block in the door, leaving exposed wiring out the back of the plug. Door card then pulls away from the door with a little bit of force, and then we can start to disconnect the wiring to the controls for the door. This allows us to remove the window switches, and then we can take the card itself away for safe storage. Then we can start to remove the wiring loom after removing the questionable wiring I already mentioned. There is a large piece of sound deadening and probably weather protection foam inside the door. We'll remove that. Once that's removed, it reveals the window mechanism, and it's at this point I realise that I've actually made a mistake and got a problem. I can't actually access the bottom of the window because the window needs to be in down.
Sure. Yeah, I think we should have put the window down before we took this off. We might have to put this door back on for a minute to bring the window down, but we'll give it a look. Yeah, but we're going to have to take the door back off. This is why we do it though. We're learning as we go along. If we ever do this again, remember to put the window back down. Okay, so we're back, and all we've literally done is we took the door, we put it back on, we put the window down, and we took the glass out. So we'll continue with stripping this door again, and we'll see where we go from there.
We continue to just remove any screws that are visible to us and lay every part in order behind us to help when we start put everything back on the door. Manoeuvring the door is a lot easier with the two of us, and removing the parts is now starting to come along nicely. Some of the parts are clipped on, and a plastic trim tool helps remove some of the trims without causing any damage to them. Parts that are clipped on can be quite tight because at the end of the day they are designed to be in the wind force when the car is moving. Don't be afraid to apply a little bit of force to them, they will come off. Everything does seem to be coming off okay. I haven't damaged any bits at this point yet, and everything hopefully will start to go back on, no problem. I start to clean the door that's been fitted to the car just to make sure there's no dirt under for when we start to put the new parts on, and Ryan's just taking the last couple of bits off the door. Ryan's removing the black A-pillar trim because the spec of the car that this came off must have been a lower spec one, as it's matte black and the M Sport ones are gloss black. Once again, I'm just cleaning some of the areas with an all-purpose cleaner, just making sure a lot of the dirt's off it before we put the trims back on, before we refit the handles, things like that. It will all be coming back off again for a body shop, but getting it nice and clean up front is always good. We then swap out the door latch and the wiring loom, as they both appear to be slightly different. The wiring loom on the new door doesn't have puddle lights, interior ambience lights, and didn't seem to have an electric door mirror. However, the original loom easily transfers across from the old door. Start to refit the trim around the window. This comes in about 4 or 5 different pieces at various parts of the window, and it's amazing how quickly you forget the sequence you took them out in, and it takes a couple of attempts just to get them back in the right sequence. Also, when we fitted the black door trim, we realised we hadn't hooked it around the door properly, so Ryan's just redoing that just now. Again, another learning curve, but if we ever do it again, we'll remember that next time. And on to fitting all the upper door trims on the outside, and this is actually quite tight in places and it takes a good bit of shoving in to get it in. We then move on to refitting the window mechanism. This slides into place and pops through the holes in the door, and then that allows us to put the nuts on to secure it back in location. Once it's secured in location, I can start rerouting the wiring loom. This allows me to also start putting the window switch back in, because the next thing is refitting the window. And then it's back in with the window. The window slides in at an angle, carefully ensuring not to scratch or break it. It is pretty awkward to get in due to the curve in the window, but it did come out that way and just takes a little bit of perseverance. And then finally it drops down onto the runners and slides down into the door. Then it's a case of giving it one last hard click into place and the window's done. One, two. The last piece is refitting the door card in the exact opposite way it was removed, and it's good to be nearly done. However, in typical Scottish fashion, it starts raining and this wasn't on the forecast. However, as the car is currently open, we need to finish the task so we can close the door and get back in the house.
The rain's starting to get heavier.
Yep. Right. So unfortunately it did rain when we were putting the last of the door card back on there. Rain's back off again just now. Ryan's just putting in the last 4 screws and then that's the door complete. Car is now ready to go to the body shop.
And that's actually it for today's video. The car is off to the body shop now. It might be a couple of weeks before the next update, but I'll see you in the next video. Peace.